Okay, the time is 9:31. I don't have any participants, but that's okay though. I'm gonna go ahead and start. If anyone should show up while we're doing this, that'd be great. Okay. Um, so I don't know if people are remembering that. I know I forgot last week that I was supposed to do a live one, and so this week is going to be the first live official one. But I do want to remind everyone that this information about when the live sessions are is on our this document, the summer 2022 assignments, lecture topics, and due dates. Okay, right here it says week and live lecture times. Okay, so like today is Monday, June 6th, and so it's 9:30 is when I was going to do my lecture, which is right now. Okay, next Monday, the 13th, I'm doing it at 9:30. This is my emotionally needy dog, Archie. This is what we get when we do our stuff at home now these days. Isn't that great? And then week 5 is Monday the 20th at 9:30 also. And then week 6 is Monday the 27th at 9:30. And then the last one will be actually on a Tuesday because the day after July 4th. Okay. All right. So we got to make sure that if you wanted to be part of the live action, then you can log in. And the benefit to this is that you can ask questions in the moment. As I go over things, we can talk about them. Okay. Which might be beneficial to many of you. Others of you who are fine with just watching these, well, then nothing changes. Okay. Because I'm just going to be recording the lecture that would be posted anyways, but just doing it here. Okay. All right. So here we go. This week is week 3. Okay. These are the things that we're going to be discussing: intro to poetry, reading poetry for theme, symbolism, and tone. We're going to analyze a poem. Oops. Okay. Thank you. We're going to analyze a poem, and we're going to I want to introduce essay 2. Okay. And I want to talk about writing paragraphs. That's all that I am discussing. There's going to be this lecture, and then I'm going to post 3 other previously recorded sample analysis of some poems to kind of help you understand how to analyze poems as well. Okay, so there's this lecture, and then there will be this is definitely the most important lecture to watch. The other 3 will be helpful to you to watch. Okay, all right. This week, you turned in you are going to be turning in essay 1. Okay. Now, here is a change. Originally, this said Wednesday the 8th. I'm sorry, up here. Originally, this said Wednesday the 8th. The 8th, okay, was when your essay 1 was due. Okay, but now I have changed this to Sunday. You can have an extension on essay 1 up until this Sunday, because when I originally wrote this, I forgot that I was going out of town. Okay, so I'll be going out of town. I will still have my phone to answer emails. Okay, so don't worry about that. I mean, nothing's gonna change between y'all talking to me and me responding to your questions. But I won't be sitting at a computer grading your essays until I get back, okay, which will be Sunday. So there's no point of you trying to get your essay done by Wednesday, 2 days from now, if it requires you to kill yourself, when you could take a couple of days and get it done by Sunday instead. Okay, I'll post this in the announcements as well. You hear the birds? Isn't it wonderful? We're out in nature. Isn't this great? I'll post this in the announcements as well, but your essay is no longer required. I'm not going to be grading them on Wednesday. I'm not going to start grading them until Sunday. Okay. All right. So Sunday the 12th is when your essays are due. Okay. Good times. Which I'm going to go over some of the. I'm gonna go over some of the essays next Monday. Okay. I'll have a few graded by the time I record this lecture, and I'll go over some things that are good and some things that are not good. Okay. All right. Let's go back to Blackboard. Okay. Lessons. This week's work, it's all being done out of the Unit 3 folder, Poetry Weeks 3 through 4. Okay. I'm going to be going over a rather extensive PowerPoint during this presentation. And I have uploaded a PDF copy of this PowerPoint right here where it says Week 3 Poetry Notes. So if you want to, if you need to refer back to what I go over in this lecture and you don't want to have to like go back to the video, I totally understand that. You can just download these notes. This is the PowerPoint just as a PDF, okay? If you want to pause this and you want to print off these, I mean, this is very old school. Okay, this is what I would have done. If you want to print off this PDF and then take notes as you watch this, that'd be great. You know, the point of this is to emulate in-person classes. Okay, and so you're able to get the in-class experience of being at home. So I'm here talking to you, showing you stuff, and you could be taking notes down if you want to on your printed off copy of this PDF. Okay. The work, real fast, since I'm already here, the work that you're doing this week, right here, If We Must Die by Claude McKay, this is accessed here, and Let America Be Great Again is accessed here. Okay. This poem was written about 70 years ago. Okay, so it's not a MAGA illusion. Okay, the poems are found by clicking on the link. You'll read those and you'll answer the questions. But I don't advise you doing that until after you watch this lecture. You should definitely watch this lecture first, because I'm going to go over a lot of things that you'll be doing in terms of how to analyze poetry right now. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put up my PowerPoint of these notes right here, right now. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce to you Essay 2. As you're watching this, you're still working on Essay 1. I get that. But because this is summer, we are overlapping. Okay, we have half the time that we normally have. So normally I wouldn't be going over this until Essay 1 was actually turned in. You would turn in Essay 1 on that Sunday night, and then Monday morning, I'm going over Essay 2 already, introducing it. But for y'all, we're overlapping. You're finishing Essay 1 as you're getting ready to start thinking about Essay 2. But the reason why I want to go ahead and talk about Essay 2 is that it makes what you're doing in this poetry unit much more relevant, because the things that we're discussing in terms of poetry is directly related to Essay 2, because Essay 2 is, you got it, a poetry analysis essay. Okay. So these things relate and will impact your grade. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about Essay 2 so you understand why it is that we're talking about poetry in the first place. Okay. And so in this lecture, we'll be discussing Essay 2 and how to understand theme and how to use theme. How to construct a theme from understanding symbolism. Okay. In a text. So let me introduce Essay 2. Your second analytical essay is based on 1 to 3 of the poems from the poetry packet. Okay. And this packet, which I'll show you, is referred to as Female, Queer, and Black Perspectives in Poetry. It's in Unit 3, the Unit 3 folder. Okay. You may analyze the, oops, there's a typo there. You may analyze the theme, symbolism, and or perspectives of the poems. You can choose 3 poems from the same category or 3 poems from different categories, or you can choose 1 poem and discuss theme, symbolism, and perspectives. So you have a lot of freedom here, okay? Some of you might be easier to pick 3 poems and pick 1 thing out of each poem and write about those poems. Some of you might feel like, well, there's a lot to say about 1 poem. 1 poem can really go a long way. So you just want to focus on 1 poem. That's fine. Don't do 2. Because I don't want to do like 1 paragraph. I guess you could do like, yeah, I would say to do 1 poem and analyze theme for that 1 poem, and analyze symbolism for that poem, and analyze perspective for that poem, or pick 3 poems, and for each poem you can do theme. For each poem you can do symbolism. Each poem, 1 poem you can do theme, 1 poem you can do symbolism, 1 poem you can do perspectives. And I'm gonna go over theme, symbolism, and perspectives right now. Okay, so it will make sense. So what you'll do is essentially, after all this, you'll go through and read the packet of poetry and decide which ones you would like to write about. Your essay must have these components, okay? You need to have introduction, you gotta have body paragraphs, you gotta have a conclusion, and you have a thesis statement. You need to have good development, topic sentences, transition words. And I'm gonna go over your introduction, I'm gonna go over body paragraphs, I'm gonna go over the conclusion, I'm gonna go over all those things. So don't you worry. Your paper must be double spaced, 3 to 4 full pages, which is about a minimum of 1,100 words, and written in 12-point fonts. Okay, you must cite your main sources and adhere to MLA formatting. And you will also need to incorporate a minimum of 3 secondary sources, which I'll go over today. Okay, how you can do that. They need to be topical or supportive research. So each poem has 1 piece of research that you are writing about. Okay, or that you're using in your analysis. So let's talk about how symbolism and perspective influences theme. Okay, this we're gonna do a couple different examples. We're gonna look at an example from a poem. We're gonna look at an example from a film. We're gonna look at an example from a music video. And then I think from another poem. So, we need to understand what is theme. Okay, a literary theme is the main idea or underlying meaning a writer explores in a novel, short story, or other literary work. It's a statement that is made. Theme goes from the story and it is pulled out, it's abstract, and it can be applied to yourself. Theme is the theme does not include the specific characters. The characters represent the theme, okay? So the theme of the story wouldn't be about this character. The theme is about this big idea that can be applied to anyone. For some writers, theme is just as important to grasp, if not more, than the events in the story. Many authors begin with a thematic concept and then create a story to communicate their theme. So, for example, The Hate You Give, that book, which was made into a film. The theme is very important to The Hate You Give. I mean, really, I'm sure the author began with theme first. She wanted to write a story that discusses police brutality and how dangerous prejudices are to people, and how prejudices can result in death. So then she constructed a story around her theme, while other people start off with an idea, like let's say the book Cold Mountain, which had this idea of, Charles Fraser was like, I want to write a story that's about the Civil War, and it mirrors the Odyssey. So I'm going to create a Civil War story that mirrors the events in the Odyssey. And then out of that, by accident, themes arise, themes of the effects of war and the understanding of history and blah, 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 blah. Different things come up, okay? Theme sometimes is secondary. Theme of story can be conveyed using characters, setting, dialogue, plot, or a combination of all these elements, okay? So here we're gonna talk about symbolism, understanding symbolism. Theme can be communicated through literal events and dialogue in a text. Look, the hate you give. The hate you give is literally about police brutality. The theme can also be communicated through metaphor. Plot characters and situations can all be symbols used to convey a deeper meaning. So I'm going to use an example of this poem called House in the World by Langston Hughes. Great poem. I'm looking for a house in the world where the white shadows will not fall. There is no such house, dark brothers, no such house at all. It's short, it's sweet, okay? It's very well crafted. So let's talk about the symbolism, okay? We have house, we have white shadows. Well, some might ask, what do they mean? So we need to dissect the symbol. Identify the literal object the symbol is. So example here, we have a house. The house is the main image, okay? This poem is not about real estate. It's not really about like Zillow, okay? It's not really trying to find an actual house. You know, I need a house with a lot of light. I need some light in my house, in a right price, and maybe a pool in my neighborhood. No, it's not that kind of house, okay? It's a symbol. The house is a symbol. It's a place of residency, you know. And then identify the figurative representation of the symbol. So the house, what are all the things that a house symbolizes? Okay, well, it symbolizes a place where one feels safe, where one feels secure and belonging. Of course, some people's houses weren't that way when they were children. Some people hated their home. Some people wanted to avoid their house. They felt it was unstable. I get that. We're talking about universal themes. We're talking about like symbols that are sort of the majority understanding of, okay? And ideally, a house should be a place in which someone feels safe and secure, because you have the house or you have, you know, the wild, okay? So then we think about who is impacted and affected by this symbol. And so here we have the Dark Brothers, okay? The Dark Brothers are literally impacted by this symbol. So then what might the Dark Brothers represent? Okay, they're figurative. And in this case, we can assume that Dark Brothers represent the people of color, okay? And the house is a safe place. So this is like their search for a safe place. And we know this from a variety of different, you know, Dark Brothers. We have Langston Hughes. He was Black, and he wrote during the Harlem Renaissance, which is a major literary and artistic movement in the Black community. Okay, so we can safely assume Dark Brothers means people of color. And so we can take all of this to try and figure out what is the deeper message being sent out about this poem. So using the dissection of the symbol, the characters, and the effect on the characters, we need to determine the theme that the author is constructing. So in this case, A House in the World, which, look, I want you to note this real fast. Poems. Titles of poems are in quotation marks. A House in the World, quotation marks, okay? If you notice, it's capital letters, A, H, and W. Prepositions in articles don't have to have capital letters unless the title begins with an article. Like A and B are articles, okay? If the first word here was the house, all right, it would be capital T, the house in the world, and the second the would be undercase, okay? The first letter of the title is always capitalized, and then the bigger words in the title are capitalized, but the small little words, like as in prepositions and articles, those are not capitalized, okay? So A House in the World addresses the oppressive effects of racism that affects the lives of people of color, which leaves many to believe that racism is inescapable. Okay. So go back to this. Looking for a house with the white shadows. We didn't talk about white shadows, but white shadows, white influence, racism. Okay. Living in one's shadow, being in the shadow. This is a place of aggression. Okay. It's never positive to be in one's shadow. And so the white shadows falling over upon safe places for people. I mean, this could be about Black Wall Street, the Tulsa riots, where the Black neighborhoods were burnt down by white outsiders. Okay, even like when Black communities were built, Seneca Village was a Black owned village, which is in now Central Park, New York, and the city essentially took the land from this free Black village, made everyone move. That's how a lot of Black people end up in Harlem, pushed them out and destroyed their city, destroyed their village. They had a blacksmith, they had a bank, they had a market, and now we have Central Park, which sits right up there by Upper West Side, which is a predominantly white area in New York City. Okay, so like here we have Langston Hughes almost, alluding to that. He's looking for a safe place for Black people where white fascism won't fall. And it's sad because he ultimately concludes that there is no place that doesn't exist, at least in 1920s. Okay. All right. So that's how went from the poem. We looked at symbolism and we developed theme. Okay. We could add in perspective and talking about how the perspective of the speaker, the poet here, impacts the poem because he's a Black guy living in Harlem and he experiences racism. Okay. I mean, the only reason why he was a professional writer is because his patron was a white lady. This old white lady who, I mean, it's great that she wanted to support him and Zora Neale Hurston. But at the same time, though, the only way in which he could have written his poetry and got paid for it was for him to have a white person who used their white privilege to be able to fund him. Okay. And so even in his, there's a great essay called, let's see here, I think it's called The Negro Artist and the Racial Mountain, or The Racial Mountain and Artist. And he writes about that, about how problematic it is for Black people to be able to publish their work back in that time by having to rely on white people to do it for them. Okay, so you can even analyze this poem from his perspective. Okay, we're gonna do another analysis. We're gonna watch the music video of "This Is America" by Childish Gambino. So I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to, let's see. I'm gonna pause recording, and when this pops back up, we'll have the